static.
Okay.
Ooh, that's a lot of static. That's a whole lot of static.
Well, all right. That's not fun.
Static's gone.
Okay. No, it's not. No, it's got. Ah. Well, I turned it down. I turned it down a ton. So, um.
Let's see. It's still static. We're working on it.
What?
This is amazing. Yeah, Linux Mint is having some issues with streaming.
Or, I mean, it's hard to blame the OS when people think about it as an afterthought when they're making this stuff.
Hey, you know what? Linux has not played well with multimedia for a long, long time.
I got the app up though.
Yeah, hey, look at that. There's the
Right.
it's still just static.
That was giving us the static. We'll put it back.
Start streaming. All right.
Yeah, I got the right one. We're good.
Okay. Let's try this again.
And yeah, you're coming through on input.
Yeah.
I'm coming through on
I can
input.
hear. We're good. We're good. Okay, I think we're good.
Nice.
I can hear myself on the stream. I can hear you on the stream. I'm obviously a little echoey. Sounds like I'm in a room or being picked up on a microphone.
Yeah.
Since I am.
Well,
but
we both are.
but it works. All right. So cool. Welcome to the stream, everybody. It is Friday, April 7th. Sorry for the technical difficulties. We will eventually figure this all out. I have a feeling we're gonna have to set Ben up with some sort of like audio multiplexer kind of thing so that we can pipe multiple audio streams into one audio stream, which OBS then sends out. It's what I have to do when I stream video games with friends. So I'm guessing we're gonna have to do something similar for you. Anyway, though, let's make this Android app look nicer and have the auto update thing, right? We wanna update when we post a new item.
Yeah, we do.
Seems like a good idea. Hey, pause. I'm not on speakerphone exactly.
Oh, it sucks that that's what it sounds like.
Yeah, we can't get the audio from Zoom, which is a meeting app that we use so I can see Ben's screen and we can talk to each other. We can't get that to pipe into OBS to go out to all of you on the stream. So what we're doing instead is he's playing me on his monitor speakers and the microphone's near them, so you can hear me that way. So that's a lot of fun. It's not the best solution, and we apologize for it giving some crappier sounds there, but we can only do what we can do, and we don't have time to debug every last little bit of this at the moment. So it's fine. We will eventually get it working properly.
I mean, we're probably going to be doing a lot of debugging, but
by the time we're done getting it to work properly, I'll be back to doing Python streams, and you'll do your own solo streams, and then we won't have to do this anymore. So it'll be fine. Yeah, Ryan, we could use Discord, except for the problem that I need to be able to see Ben's screen, and Discord does not yet offer video chat, as far as I know. So, yeah. All right. What should we do first, Ben? What should we do first?
Well, we should make them appear when they post, right?
Sure.
That seems like an easy one.
It seems like an easy one, and it seems like the logical next step.
Yeah.
To have it to where you do the post, you add the new item to your list of feelings, thoughts, I think they're actually called, and then it immediately updates the list that you're seeing, right? It immediately shows up.
Right.
Cool. So how do we do that?
Well, we just need to update the thought adapter with the right items, and then tell it to notify dataset changed.
Okay.
And so let's hide this section, give us some more room here.
Okay. And yeah, chat, I definitely love Discord. Discord is an amazing service, but until it gets screen sharing and video calling, it doesn't really work for this kind of stream. Now, I could just watch the stream and talk to Ben over Discord, but then we have the weird thing of me being 30 seconds behind, 15 to 30 seconds behind on seeing what he's doing before I tell him something or can answer his question or whatever. So that's a little weird, as I'm sure you can all assume. We could do this through Skype or something as well, I'm sure, but I think we run into the exact same problems. Lots of times, computers don't like they really don't like having streams like video or audio going to multiple applications at once. I'm sure it has its roots in computers not being able to handle the processing of audio and video in multiple places at once back in the day, but it's it's still around, which is just so much fun. Computers are the best. Like there's absolutely no problem with computers. Computers have never been broken or weird ever. Computers work perfectly. Did y'all know that? Were you aware of that, Ben? That computers work perfectly?
Yeah, all the time.
Yeah. And yeah, Ryan, we could change the stream delay on YouTube, but that doesn't help us do anything on Twitch or help us do anything on Zoom. Zoom would be sub-second delay if we were only going to, or sorry, not Zoom, Beam. Beam would be sub-second delay if we were only going to Beam and we were using the FTL layer. But since we also need to go to YouTube and we also need to go to Twitch, we are stuck at the speed of the slowest one, which happens to be Twitch. So, not really anything we can do. Once you make, if y'all can all go and make Twitch faster, then let me know.
Just hop in Twitch's open source project, get to work.
Yeah. Twitch is 100% open source. Just go contribute, to open source or to Twitch open source and just make it, completely ready to go, right? So as soon as y'all do that, let me know and we will stream faster. But yeah, so that's the way that works. And we could just stop streaming on Twitch. That's a total possibility. At this point, though, I kind of like having all three of them. It's kind of neat. I know there are people who enjoy being on each of the different platforms. So Paz says that they use a tool called virtual audio cable to deal with sound redirection or manipulation. I'm going to look that one up. Virtual audio cable. And this might be a thing for us to use later on for stuff another time. What do we got? We got all sorts of stuff here. All right, so this seems very similar to, I used to use an app on Mac that was called, oh no, I can't think of the name of it. Anyway, it did the same idea. You could move things from one place to another. I have one on Windows that's Voice Meter that does that same idea. It's really cool. It works really well. But yeah, that'd be something we'd have to set up and play with. So we'll figure it out later. Oh, it also only runs on Windows. So that's a problem for you, Ben. Ironically, we probably wouldn't have this problem on Windows. But, you know, whatever.
Well, you know, we can use Windows. I dual boot into Windows. It's just not fun to develop in Windows.
You know, I have actually not had any problems developing in Windows, but I'm just doing Python, so maybe that's a little bit easier.
Yeah, Android is Linux-based, so there's a lot of stuff that just makes sense there.
I can see that, yeah. I can definitely understand. It's like the people who, like, we get them every once in a while, questions on Treehouse, people who want to do, like, iOS development on Linux or on Windows, and it's like, well, you kind of can.
But not really.
You can do Swift. You can do Swift on them, since Swift is open source and compiles, you know, lots of places. You just can't do actual iOS development.
Yep. Oh, what? I don't even have a method open to know if I'm frozen or not. Oh, Kenneth's power is off. Okay. Well, without Kenneth here, I guess I'm going to close the Zoom account, or the Zoom thing. Hope he can get his power back on. Oh, there he goes, left the call. And I don't have chat open, so rather than... Actually, let me see if I can find the chat real quick. Cool, so I've asked Kenneth to link me to chat so I can figure out what's going on. And until that happens, I have added a Onstart method here, which will be triggered anytime the app comes from a stopped state back to a start state. So like if the app gets turned on, it's going to get created and then started and then resumed. Let's see, we're getting chat back. And so I'm kind of curious what this onStart method is going to do for us here, because it would be kind of cool that when we come back from our other activity, which generates the object that we insert, from clicking on here, that we would get... Why am I pointing? You can't see that. And just call get thoughts twice. So we just call get thoughts to get the thoughts initially and set the thoughts into our layout, and then we would, when we create a new item, just come back in and call get thoughts again, and then make it a really easy process to update the layout, and that we'd just be calling get thoughts twice. And I kind of wanted to play around with that. And cool, got a link to the YouTube stuff. Cool, there we go. Alright, cool. I'm in chat, so if in the YouTube chat, so if anything needs to be brought to my attention, just let me know. Otherwise, I'm going to keep going with implementing the extra, or not extra, but being able to submit thoughts to the Heroku app. Cool, so what happened here was not exactly what I expected. So calling get thoughts method, I had thought would add a recycler view to our vertical layout, and presumably each time we call this method. So I'm going to come in here and see how many times I've called get thoughts. So we should get this one and then this one when we start up the app. So it should get called twice, and I was kind of expecting to see two things come through, but let's just log get thoughts, and we can see what it says. So again, on create for Android apps is going to be called first, and then it's going to call on start, and then it's going to call another method called on resume that we don't need right now. And we might not need on start either, but it's nice to have, or at least play with. And that's a different device. So switching devices, and then we've got get thoughts and get thoughts. So it was called twice. Once for on create, once for on start. And then we're into the get thoughts method, where we get our results, which again should have happened twice, and then we're taking our vertical layout and adding a recycled view to it with the thought adapter. So we should have two recycled views here that are exactly the same. Or at least that was how I thought it was going to happen. Which wasn't necessarily a solution, but we're just taking this one step at a time. So ultimately, let's refactor this to be how it should be, which is we only want this to be created. Basically, we need to pull, this is kind of messy, and we just need to pull the pieces apart so we can get our hand around, or just figure out what's going on here. So first of all, we only need one thought adapter. So let's pull that out and make that a field. Which I'm not sure these are called fields in Kotlin, but it is a field. Okay, so we've got that pulled out, and get thoughts, we're going to get the thought and then update the adapter, and what ideally get thoughts should be is just getting the thoughts and updating the adapter. It shouldn't be creating the recycler view. The recycler view should already be created by the time we're calling get thoughts. So let's take our recycler view out of this, and then we'll put it back in the vertical layout up here, so if not auth token, so we don't have an auth token, then we just want to show our recycler view, so we'll do that. And now we're not getting thoughts in on create, and we're going to get them in on start, and in on start we're going to get thought adapter.thoughts set appropriately, and then call thought adapter dot notify dataset changed. And so hopefully this will be called when we start, and let's just run this and find out. So get thoughts should be called one time when we start the app, and then we're going to put in a new feeling and then go back to here, and onstart should be called again, hopefully calling through to get thoughts again, which would retrieve all the thoughts including the new one, and then notify dataset changed, which should update the recycler view. In theory. So here we've got thoughts, and so it's just this one because this is at 27, so this was 3 minutes ago, so it's not these two, those are old. So we'd add just one get thoughts, just like I expected, and then we're going to do a new thought. And let's say we're optimistic that Kenneth is going to get his power back. And did that submit, or did we go back? I think that submitted, because now we've got our optimistic here, and it looks like we called through to the post again and got get thoughts. Okay, so I didn't mean to submit that quickly, but it submitted, and yay! It looks like it worked. Cool. Frustrated, having a rough day. Are these being duplicated though? Nope. I hope this goes well. Hoping this goes well. Yeah, these seem to be duplicated. How are these being added? Okay, so that's the error there. So we are not clearing the thoughts each time, so we've added on all the thoughts that we already had to the existing thoughts array inside thought adapter, which we can get to by using Control B, and right, thoughts, which is a mutable list of thought, which is conditions and notes. So instead of adding thoughts to the thoughts array, when we come through and get thoughts, we just want to create a new one. Which, since I believe thoughts is, yeah, it's a val, so we can't just set it equal to a new thing. We can't ever use the equals sign again with this, because it is, the word is escaping me at the moment, but you can't change it. It is immutable, that's what it is. And so back over here, instead of setting it to something new, dot thoughts dot clear. And then this isn't really a great example of a spot where you can use this, but it's kind of cool. So since we've got thought adapter dot thoughts here, one thing you can do is do that with syntax again and do with thoughts to make this a receiver block, and then in here, and thoughts would need to be that thought adapter dot thoughts, and then in here you just do clear and add your thoughts, which, now that I think about it, is not going to work at all because you don't want to clear this inside the loop, you want to clear it outside the loop, so this isn't going to work. So let's Control Z this back out. And put the clear right, I guess, up here. And then we can run this and hopefully get some thoughts. Also, Marine, this code is not on a GitHub repo at the moment, but that sounds like a good next step. But first let's check and make sure this worked. So we've got our feelings, and we've got our empty optimistic one, which has not come true yet. Sorry about your power, Kenneth. So scrolling down, we've got the rest of these. So let's add a new one. And since he hasn't gotten his power back, let's go with maybe worried. Kenneth and his power. Kind of sounds like a superhero. I'm scared of Kenneth's powers. Or Kenny powers. That's good too. Okay, so we've got that in there, and perfect. We've got it, it popped right in. And you scroll down, and all goes well. So again, this is just a really, really easy solution to this problem. And ultimately, this probably isn't the best way to do it, but it is a really, really easy one to make sense of. So basically, the get thoughts method here, anytime you call it, it's going to update the thoughts and the thought adapter and notify dataset change. So whenever you need to just populate the recycler view, you just call get thoughts, and it's pretty brainless. You just need to call get thoughts. So what we do is that anytime this activity gets started, provided we have an auth token, because otherwise we'd call get thoughts without an auth token that we need to generate first from up here, so that would be a problem. And so then we call get thoughts, and that's going to get us all our thoughts. And then when we leave and start the other activity, this new feelings activity, or new feeling activity, and then when we finish this activity, what that triggers is going to be on start and then on resume in here. It'll stay created, but it'll call on start and on resume, so then when we come back here, we're just going to get our thoughts and make sure they're still the same. And yeah, so that's just a pretty easy way to add thoughts onto here. And so next step, let's put this in a GitHub project. So import and and share project on GitHub. Feelings. I guess we can keep it feelings too. That's what the project's called, so it'd be kind of annoying to download it and then find it being called feelings too when the repository was named feelings, I guess. And hopefully that'll just get shared sometimes once an auth token or something for two-factor. Perfect. Okay, so there we go. We've got project is shared. It is at bf-feelings2. And I am still www for some reason. Cool. So I think next step, no, we don't want to add VCS to Git. That's one of the idea things, so it's just part of IntelliJ. So nope, we're good. And then let's just refresh this page to see more feelings. It's a good thing I wrote this down. Cool. So we've got all our feelings in here, we've got them all in the app, and I think now we want to make it look prettier. That'd be a really fun one to have some more input on than just me. So if anybody's got any ideas, go ahead and throw those in chat, and let's see what we can do. First thoughts for me would be we could add an icon somewhere for the app. We could add little icons for all these guys if we wanted to. Could get some colors going, as well as text sizes can probably be changed. Okay, so let's give a second on that to see where we go. And let me just look over the code and see if there's anything else that's just kind of messy like the get thoughts method was. Alright, so we've got our icon, we get that, login. Oh, that's an obvious place to start. This is super messy. Not necessarily the code, though I'm sure it's not perfect, but this is kind of gross looking. So let's make that look a little better. And so that gets created here with a vertical layout. Let's make that maybe a relative layout, which means we're going to set elements relative to each other. So inside the relative layout, then let's put a vertical layout. Which this is one of the reasons that using coordinator layouts is nice, is because you wouldn't need to nest layouts like this, because you could just do different constraints to make everything be right about where you'd want it to. So what I'm going for here is to get these three items centered and to get some margins on both sides. And to get them centered, an easy way is to just put it in a relative layout and then keep these things in a vertical layout, but then center the vertical layout in the middle and set its height to wrap content. So let's get that done. And actually, an easier way to do this is going to be just to keep this as a vertical layout, figure out where that last bracket is. It's right down there, so let's add another new one. And then just add a relative layout around it. And hopefully that'll update the tabbing. Maybe if I do it this way? Nope. Okay, well, come in here. And we'd want to tab all these guys. So tab. And okay, so then the vertical layout ends down here, so we can do .lparams. And we can start setting our layout parameters. So if you wanted the width, so it defaults to wrap content and wrap content, but if you wanted match parent, you could do match parent for the width and height. And another thing that you can do is if you're uncomfortable or you like to be able to read things a little more clearly, typing them out like that, you can explicitly set them. So you can set the width is match parent, and the height is match parent, and you can do it that way as well. But they're both the same thing. For this one, I'm pretty sure we want wrap content, so we're just going to leave this empty. And the layout parameters we need to set is going to be to center it. So let's center. Perfect. Center and parent, and let's see what that gives us. That's the other downside about doing your layouts in code like this, is that you kind of have to just visualize it in your head and hope you got it right, hit the run button, and see what happens. There's not a great way to see it quicker than that. Okay, so clicking on here to get a new feeling. And there we go, look at that, right in the middle. Everything's been changed to just look a little better. We probably need, well, I don't know if you'd want more room for a note there or not. Could take that or leave it. And this is still gonna open and scroll, nice. Let's add a label to that button. That's pretty easy. Cool, so now that says submit, and that's nice, and, well, really it's not that nice. It's gray and it's black, and that's kind of ugly, especially with our color scheme. So let's see if we can't set that an easier way. And you can get your colors from resources, so all the colors for this app, so like this blue and this pink, these are defined colors in the resources directory here. So values, colors. And they're right here, and they should be shown up over there. They are. Okay. So those are the colors, and let's see. You can use those from resources, and I don't think it's too hard, but actually let's see what it is. I think it's easier to create these as like a persistent global array sometimes rather than get them from resources. And just because that also kind of makes more sense programmatically to just retrieve them from some global state that just exists rather than resources, which kind of, there's nothing wrong with that, but you just got to look up the documentation a lot because it's not, you know, super obvious like a global variable or something would be. So let's see, get color resource Android, perfect. So that looks pretty straightforward. So again, it's not like this is hard or anything, it's just having to look it up is frustrating sometimes. So in here, in our button, let's copy that in, and it's going to tell us this is deprecated. And let's see, I bet it wants us to give a theme parameter. So if we pass in like a 1 here, I bet that'll go away. Yeah. So, right, it wants us to pass in a theme. I don't want to pass in a theme, I just want to get the color. So I'm going to leave it as the deprecated call. Change this to color primary, I think is what they're called. Let's double check that though. Is it not open anymore? Did I close it? That's also Control Tab to open up a thing where you can kind of switch through these, which is really nice. Didn't need to open messages. It's still nice to have Control Tab. So colors.xml, and yeah, color primary, color accent, color primary dark. So back to new feeling activity, and Control Shift Tab to go backwards in that little directory. So we've got color primary, and if we look at this, maybe we make that the background color. So background color equals that. And then let's do text color equals that, which is color accent. And now if we run this, hopefully it'll look a little bit prettier. So click here for new feeling, and there we go. Though that has changed the background color. Ooh, there's a lot going on in chat. Okay, I don't know why that just loaded on me. Anyway, so changing the background color here looks like it overwrote the background drawable. So before we had kind of that nice, like an oval almost, the rounded rectangle, and now it's just this kind of blue square, which is okay. You know, that looks fine, but it would be better if we could keep the background color ultimately. So let's see if we can get access to what that drawable was. So looking for one that returns a drawable, looks like it's background. And then I think tinting? Actually, let's look at tinting. Let's see if we can tint. So we can set a background tint, and setting tints will just change the color of the background, so like you're tinting it a different color. But tinting isn't available on most APIs. I think it's either API 21 and up, I think. But so ultimately, you're usually supporting API like 17, 19. You're usually going down into the teens still. So tinting is one of those things where not everybody can use it, but something you could do is use a color filter. So you could get background to get the drawable, then color filter to get the color filter. And I'm going to use set color filter just because you don't need to create a new color filter that way. So if you do color filter like this, then you do equals and you'd set a color filter. But just doing set color filter, we just get to pass in the color, which is this. So I guess let's just pull that into a color just quickly. Primary color, was that what it was called? I don't think so, but nope, it was. Okay. So primary color, so we can set this to the primary color, and then we want to use quarterduff.mode.source top. And you're going to tell me to import that, right? Alright, cool. And let's see what that does. And so source atop, what that means is that it's going to take the source, so the background image, that gray rounded rectangle, and it's going to put on top of that the primary color. So everywhere in that initial image that there is color, that it's not transparent, that there is something, it's going to put this color. So now, see, we've got the roundedness, we've got the shadow, we've kept everything we wanted about the drawable in the background, we've just made it blue. And that's a pretty easy way to do that. And it might be interesting to do it to try and do this with a theme as well. But let's see where we go. Let's see, someone's asking about no XML for the layout file. That's correct. We are using Anko for this, which is a Kotlin library that makes writing libraries, or not writing libraries, but writing layouts in Android really easy, and you can do them in code. So there's a super short example. And toast is another convenience method in Anko that does a toast, that does it just very quickly without much of the ceremony around toasting. Yeah, so really cool, highly recommend it. You can still use XML with Anko, but a lot of the times you don't need to. Okay, so that looks alright. I don't know why that takes so long to open there. Probably just because I'm streaming and doing this and all that stuff, but normally it doesn't take so long to open something. So then we can do hungry, and it's almost lunchtime, which is not entirely true, but sure. Ooh, here's something we can fix. So we could keep this at multi-line like that, which is, I think, a good way to do it, and we'll leave that, but also, let me get back in here. And I guess I can't click the submit button with that open anymore. But maybe if we rotate it, let's see. And that should lose, let's, come on, there we go. Okay, cool. So rotating in Android kills and restarts the activity. If you're not familiar, so this was totally expected that we lost stuff there, and we can put in some logic to keep those around pretty easily. But first I wanted to see if we could get to hit the submit button. No, I guess not. But it was, when the submit button was above the text box, we had an issue where clicking on the submit button would not hide the text field. So if the text field was still up, it would stay up, and you'd be back on this activity with the text field about halfway up here, which is not good at all. But it now seems that that's pretty much impossible, so I don't think we need to handle that issue. Cool, so let's get back over here. And let's make it so that hitting enter in here, so hitting return, goes ahead and submits. We don't need that to do a new line. That's a little frustrating. At least for me, I don't think my feelings are going to be taking on more than one line, unless this is more of a journal sort of thing than just a quick feelings logger. But I guess somebody let me know if that's wrong. But that's what we'll get. That's what we'll do now. So let's. What is that called? Let's find out. Make enter submit Android. Yeah, that's what it is. IME Options. So in the edit text, let's see if we have an IME section. IME Action ID equals IME input IME action. Okay, we'll have to figure that out. So action done. So we need to figure out what action done. There we go. Editor info. Editor info dot IME action done. So I knew it was IME, right? It had to be. So done. And what are you going to say? We can't set this? Okay, so instead of just doing that, we probably need to use set IME thing. Set IME action label. No, nope, don't do that one. So let's get a new line, IME. Let's see if Kenneth got power back. Nope, not from Kenneth. Nope. Why did we not get our autocomplete? So it was not that. So it's probably set IME options, which probably wants an array, but let's see what it says about this. You okay with that? And then if we run this, I think that'll change how we had kind of the return arrow, the little arrow like this. We'll have now a done, like a check mark to let us know that we're done. And I don't know if that'll do anything to submit it when we hit it, because I still think we need to add in this bit. But let's find out. So do that, and we've still got this here. So it looks like that didn't take, but if we hit that, still there. Okay, didn't work at all. Cool. So IME Actions. So let's go to, oh, it's options. It is options. Oh, perfect. That looks totally correct. What's going on here? Yeah, that's what it should be. Any options? We can go into IME Options and see, oh wow, this can take us straight into text view. Never mind. So Kotlin is just taking that directly from set IME Options and getting rid of the set keyword for us that lets us call this method by doing this. So just setting it equal to something is going to call that set method. So when I hit Control B on this to go to where it exists, it's like, oh, well, this is just the set IME Options method from the text view class. Kotlin just lets us make it look like this for convenience, which means it should work. So let's IME Action next. We'll try that one, and I can search through another project for while it kind of updates. Do we have? Yeah, so this is doing exact same thing, so that should be how it's done. Did you finish building? Yeah, you finished building. Okay, great. New feeling. Add any notes. Still getting the wrong button there. Huh. Edit text like that. We've got edit text, and then here we just set it to search. Guess we can copy that whole thing and see what happens in here. So funny. Okay. Oh, and also if you have the issue that I mentioned earlier where the keyboard won't close, this is what does that. So let's comment that out just to make sure that we need it. And then instead, if the action ID is search, which it would be for the IME options there, and or the key event is down and it's enter. So basically, if the action ID is search or the key event, meaning kind of, you know, if you click a button, it generates the event. If it's action down, meaning it's down, and it's enter. So we're capturing both enter and search clicks here. And then end this, when we hit enter, it'll be the same as hitting the submit button. So we would just call, which we should pull this out into a new thing. Which actually, let's does this this requires the edit text, right? Notes edit text. Yep, requires the note edit text here. Text.toString. Okay, well, let's see if this gives us the search icon, just for posterity's sake. But ultimately, I'm coming around to think that we might not want enter to be enter there and do the search, but rather, since we've got the submit button, it kind of feels like submit button should be submit and enter should be just enter to get us off this field, which is also not what it was doing because it was adding a new line, which is not good. So enter, still giving us a new line. Maybe, you might need to have single line set to true. That could be the issue here, because I think over here we've got single line true, and that's about the only difference that I can imagine making a difference here. So we set single line equal to true, then of course you won't be able to hit return to create a new line. And maybe that triggers the event where this can take over and actually be visible. Let's find out. So click in here. And okay, so now we've got a search thing, and that's what we were looking for the first time. And when we click on search, what does it do? It does not close the thing, or the keyboard. So let's comment this out. Let's change this back to what I had it to originally, which is done. And I think that's the one that makes the most sense. And let's just leave this at done, because I don't know that we need the rest of this. Maybe that's one of those things where you'd need it for some devices, or maybe it is necessary, but it feels like if we've got the IME option at done, then it should be done when we click on it. So I don't know why we would need that extra bit, though I'm sure there's a reason it's there. And the meeting has ended after 40 minutes of idle time. Man, he's been without power for a long time. Okay, so click in here. We got our check mark, just like I thought we would have at the beginning, but it took us a little longer to get there. And so we can do got my check mark, and then hit check. And that'll close the keyboard thanks to this, which is, I think, all we want to do there, because then we can use submit to still submit. And everything looks really good. Cool. So okay, so looking at chat, it's breaking to multiple lines on a feeling. I'm not entirely sure what you mean by that, Marine. Ooh, and my power just flickered, but let's not go out. That'll be no good. Kenneth and I live kind of close to each other, though we're on opposite sides of the river. So far, I guess my side's doing okay power-wise, and I hope it keeps doing that well. But oh, okay, great. So sounds like I fixed that issue that I just talked about and didn't understand, so woohoo! I think from here, let's just go back here, and maybe let's add some, I feel like we need some more padding in here. I just want to put more padding in there. Let's go main activity, and that's the vertical layout. There's padding somewhere in here, or margin. So they're just default? Really? Okay, so go layout down here, and I don't think we'll be able to do this, right? L params, right? So you can't do. Oh yeah, reading that way late. Can't do L params here, so let's show L params again. L params was over. Where did I do that? On the button, right? Yeah. So that's where you can set your layout parameters, your wrap content, your match parent, your padding, or your margins, which would go in here, and your padding, which is not a layout parameter. So I guess that's a really interesting distinction to talk about briefly here for Android, is that layout parameters, when you do things in XML, where was I just looking at XML code? IME Actions, right? Yeah. So you see how a lot of these start with the word layout? These are actually different types of parameters. These layout parameters, those are kind of, where do I fit in the bigger picture? So like, where does this edit text fit in its parent? Like what does it mean to its parent? So it's inside its parent, it's going to be wrap content, it's going to be fill parent, which is now called match parent, so don't use fill parent. But these just regular Android options, these are like properties of the edit text. So like the edit text has input text that says text and a hint that says whatever. But these are properties of more just kind of the context of where it fits into its parent. So for example, padding is something that belongs to, so right here, this L params is part of vertical layout, I think. Yeah, part of vertical layout. So if you want to add padding to that vertical layout, you do it in here, because padding is intrinsic to the object. It goes outside of the object. So if I want to pad 4 dp around me, I, the object, am doing 4 dp over here and up here and over here and down here. I'm doing the padding. Margin is where the parent does the padding. So margin is going to be in L params. So if you want to set a margin, you do it out here in the layout params of this object, because the margin is not part of the object. So that difference that normally, you just do it all the same here with Android : whatever, it is a little different in Anko, because you need to know the difference between, kind of which properties are intrinsic to the object and which are just kind of helping to place the object in the layout, hence layout params. And so it's nice to know that difference. But so getting back over here into main activity, we can't use .l params out here because it's not in scope. So to have this L params, you need to be inside a layout, and this vertical layout is our root layout, so it's not inside anything. So we can't. So like for this recycle view, we can do .l params just fine, and then we can do our params here. And if we need to add width and height, we can add them right in there. And you can also add them down here, but why? When you can add it up in the parentheses, 12 or something. But so what you can do to set layout params for this guy is you can just come inside the bracket and then do L params, and then it'll work. So now we've got the layout params for a vertical layout right here, and since we're inside this, we want to use padding to make it intrinsic to this vertical layout, and we can set it equal to DIP4, which this DIP, I don't know if we've seen this yet, but this is an Anko method to just give us DP units. So anytime you'd use DP in a regular layout, you just use DIP in Anko. It makes it really easy to just do the conversions for you, so you can do all your layouts in density independent pixels, which is the right way to do it. So that's a good thing. So running that, we should be able to get a little padding around the outside. That's not a very exciting change. But I think the difference between padding and margin and kind of what those mean for Android is pretty interesting. So, and you can barely even tell, but there's just a little more padding around all this, which just makes it look a little nicer. And cool. So, what should we do next? See, we've got this page. Let's change that from saying feelings to. That's awfully obnoxious. So that, I think, is the app name, which should be a string. So strings, app name, feelings, run. We'll see if that changed it. I think it's going to pull app name into the manifest as well, right? Yeah, right there for the label. So this is, I think, where we were getting kind of that name. So that should fix that, right? Yay, feelings. Okay. And then new page, feelings as well. Go back, everything's fine. And actually that ecstatic text, that's not ideal, I don't think. Let's see if we can fix that a little bit. So new feeling activity, and we've got that, which is a spinner. Oh good, that's easy to fix. So there we do have to use a layout from a resource. So we're using our spinner item right here, and there it is, I guess. Let's see, text, use max lines equal 1. Okay, so that's easy to change. Let's see if it'll fix that. Did it do it? Yeah, it did at the bottom, so cool. So, interesting. Let's see if that... Yeah, I don't feel like changing that for the other one because it works, so I change it. And it's not throwing us a line or giving us an easy way to fix it, so we'll just do max lines here and leave the other one how it was. And I'm going to add tools, tool namespace, and then put the tool namespace up here. And we don't have a text property, so tools text equals ecstatic. And then if we look at the design view, we should be able to see ecstatic. Yay, right in the middle. And let's change the background tint to color primary. And see, we're going to get, yep, there we go. So tint, you can only use this on API level 21 and higher. So if we do this tint, we will see this because the emulator is 21 or higher. And we should be seeing it here too, I would think, because this says, 25. So, but hey, I don't spend that much time on doing layouts in XML as I do in code, so who knows. But we can set the background color instead, I think, right? Okay, no. Checked text view. Do you not have a background? Okay, just background? And just set the background to a color, maybe? Yeah, there we go. So that'll be that darker color again, which looks okay. Let's try this. Let's do the vertical layout, which is centered, and let's give this a background color. So background color equals, and here's a cool thing that I'm gonna do. Let's get this color, and let's get our exts file, or app. Let's get our app file. Let's do some fun things here. So let's call this val color accent equals, and you're going to say that we can't do that, of course, so let's do the same game that we're doing with app prefs here. So, which is going to be an int that's null, so question mark meaning it's nullable, and then we'll do primary and primary dark. And actually, a cool way that I could have done that would be, so, what are the buttons? It's like, okay, so I can just middle mouse click down like this, and then do that, and then I could do primary like that, and then hit escape and do dark like that. So it's a little quicker to type it that way, kind of cool. So that was middle mouse click to just kind of draw a line with the cursor like this, and then you can type like that. So let's set all those in here. So color accent equals accent primary dark, C primary dark, and then in here we can do this same lazy game to turn it into not null. We don't need to import lazy there, it's already imported. And so app.color accent. Color primary dark. Oh, I should have copied those twice. My mistake. So again, how this works is when the application gets created, we're going to retrieve our resources into these variables, color accent, color primary dark, which are used right here. So they are null to begin with. and by them being in a companion object, that's sort of like they're statically available. It's not quite, but it's very much like that. So you can access them from out here, which is package scope. So this is not in a class or anything. Something you can do in Kotlin is just put things outside of classes, and then they're just available to the whole package, which is wonderful. And so you access them and you retrieve them lazily, which says we're not going to evaluate this until we use it. And we're not going to, and so since we're not evaluating it until we use it, we're guaranteed that it's not going to be null, because it will necessarily happen after this happens. Because the first thing that happens when you create an app is it's going to call onCreate in the application class. Not, you know, that's not literally true. There's probably other things that happen before that, but for our purposes, the first thing that happens is it's going to call the application's onCreate method. So before it even calls super onCreate, so well before it calls your activities onCreate, it's going to have set these variables, and they will not be null, so that by the time you retrieve either of these variables lazily, they will not be null, and you'll get, you know, just the accent color, the color primary, and the color primary dark. And so this is ultimately just you know, a little bit of pre-work that we can do, kind of like we did with the preferences, to make it so that, and let me just take that space out there, just that we can access these easily and without any issues whatsoever. So back in new feeling activity, instead of color, you know, all this crap here, we can just get rid of all of that and just put in color primary and text color equals color accent, and it's just done. That's what color it's going to be. And then in here, let's set this to color primary dark. And let's just see what that looks like. So what we're going to have now is we've updated the background color of this field here. So we're going to get a blue background on ecstatic, which should look okay. And then we're going to set the primary dark color, which is this top color here in the app bar, to be the background of the whole thing. And then, you know, I don't know that that's going to look great, but we'll see kind of what it looks like, and we can put in some padding to make it look better if we need to. Wow, okay, so that's very, very blue, and I don't think it looks terrible. It's not at all what I was going for, though, so let's not do that. And which, actually, that might be kind of an interesting thing. Let's see, did I, huh. So I'm thinking that I set background color in the wrong area there, and that background color is an intrinsic property. So by setting it out here in the layout params of the vertical layout, I ended up setting it on the relative layout because it was, you know, scoped out of the relative layout, but then it's an intrinsic property, so it was going to go to the relative layout. So hopefully moving it up to there. Yay! Okay, so that's more like what I was expecting. It's still not great, because I don't think those, you know, the colors don't work. And, you know, if you want this to look good, you'd have to need some padding and some rounding. So let's get some padding in there and change the hint text color to maybe white. Let's see, is the text color in here white or is it pink? It's black. That's awful. With pink cursor. Interesting. So in the edit text, we can change the text color, of course. So text color equals color.white. I think you need to import color, right? Or do we have color? Color.white. Okay. So that should set the text color to white. And also, I don't like to set things this low on the totem pole here, so let's move that up since it's being set on the vertical layout and it's intrinsic to the vertical layout. Just put it right there. And then let's also add some padding equals, and let's do 8 dps because 4 didn't look like very much, so we'll see what 8 looks like. And I'd like to have a rounded rectangle for a background as well. So let me see if I've got a resource I can grab for that. Oh, geez. Rounded rectangle.xml. That sounds good. Nope. Back over here. Cool. So in drawable, let's paste that in. Maybe we'll paste it. And on the other hand, maybe we will show drawable in files and go into it and then paste it. Do we not have it on the clipboard? That could be an issue. Let's copy that guy and paste it. There we go. And there's rounded rectangle.xml, which is a really easy thing just to do. It's just defines the rectangle in XML, and it's setting it to black right now, so we could change this to be another color, or we'll probably just tint it or use a color filter to set it at runtime. And so we can just hit that drawable to be the background. And actually, let's click on this to see what our padding looks like. Hey, that's a little better. And our text is now white. And you know, I don't like the pink text now that we've got all that blue, so I'm going to change that to be white. And I'm going to do the same thing for the spinner item. I think it's just easier to read, but we can see how that goes and feel it out as we move along. So spinner item, and I'll just do this in text because it's easier. Color. So I think Android color white. That'll make it white. And then we needed to change the hint color as well of the text view because it was black still. So I think, is that a hint text color? Great. Equals color dot white. And we need to set the background to be, ooh, and that would be really nice if we could get that same background that we're using here for the submit button up for that too, to get that little shadow. That'd be cool. But let's start with just getting the rounded rectangle for the background of the whole thing and just giving it some more padding. I think we need more padding there. So 16 padding, and it is up here. So background equals, and it was r dot drawable dot what was it? Rounded rectangle. And this doesn't work because it's what? Of course you can set a background drawable. Okay, so we need a different method, I guess. Background drawable equals that, right? Nope. Probably wants a resource. Ah, there we go. So we set the background resource, which is this r.drawable.rounded rectangle, which is an integer. And then it uses that integer to create the drawable, which is defined here. And then, so background drawable would be after you turn this into a drawable. So that's why we got to use background resource. So we don't want to do background color, but I wonder if it'll work to set the color, to set a color filter on it to make it the right color there. If it doesn't, we can just change it pretty easily the other way, which would be to just wherever it was, just change the color in the XML. So set color filter, and then we want this to be, I believe I started them with primary the first time, but then ultimately went with color. So color primary dark, and quarter def.mode.source top, since autocomplete just takes too long. Okay, let's see what that looks like. So Raphael asks, or says that Android Studio runs so fast. How is my PC configuration? Let's find out. Or I guess let's hope that it's just really easy to look at in one of these things over here, because I've not done this. I think system monitor would be a good thing to look at. So where is it? Oh well, I think the secret is that I've got 32 gigabytes of RAM, which is well overkill. But it does mean that I can run multiple emulators at the same time, which is very occasionally useful. Not frequently, but sometimes it's nice to be able to run more than one emulator at a time. And also it means that I can have all my work stuff up, all my Chrome tabs for home stuff, and just, you know, do all those RAM intensive things without ever having to worry about it. But on the other side, I don't think I've really ever got close to using all 32 gigabytes. It was just, you know, eventually you get really tired of not having enough RAM, and compared to the other components of computers, RAM's just not expensive enough for it to be a bottleneck, so I just got a lot of it, and I think that is probably why it works so well, or at least seems to work so well to other people. Anywho, we were setting background colors and stuff, and making sure we have rounded rectangles. Oh, that looks a lot better. Okay, there we go. And yeah, that does look good, but it could be a little bigger. I'd like to see, let's get this guy rounded. Let's round that guy. So let's go into spinner item and set the background to at drawable. Yeah, rounded rectangle. And then so this is where it gets complicated. So we've been using this set color filter method on a drawable, but here, you know, it would be kind of a pain to get each of these drawable items, and or not each of them, but the, you know, setting that for each of them, because we don't have access to the drawables here. We've just got the layouts, and we're letting kind of Android handle it behind the scenes. So let's set that and then just see what it looks like, because I'm curious if setting this as a rounded rectangle, I'm curious what that's going to do to the overflow, or not the overflow, but what happens when you click on it and then it shows the list. So I'm wondering if since we've got it set as in here, meaning that each of the list items is going to use that too. So I think we're going to have rounded rectangles for each of the list items, which might look a little funny. So yeah, we didn't set the color, so black is what we were expecting. And then, yeah, see, that looks a little weird. We don't need the roundedness on the overflow part. It would be nice to have the whole thing be rounded, you know, just have this top one be rounded and kind of the bottom one. But ultimately having that there doesn't really work, so we might need to have two items here if we want to have the drop-down view resource. I'm not sure which one of these is which either. Not entirely sure. So let's do one. Let's spinner item and spinner item, or spinner, I guess, drop down would be a good thing to do. Yeah, okay. So then let's change spinner item to back to what it was with color primary, and then feeding activity, and then for the drop down we'll do drop spinner drop down, and let's see if that updates things correctly. So we're still gonna have black, but it should update all the colors, or not update the colors, sorry, update the layouts. It just started raining a whole bunch. Okay, cool. So coming in here, this is not, so it looks like I've got those backwards. So spinner drop down goes here, and spinner item goes there, because if we click on this, we're going to have that same crap we had last time. It's no good, not what we're looking for. So if we switch those, we should have And it's going to be black, which is really lame. So let's... And it's really, you know, not difficult at all to just come in here to rounded rectangle and change the color. I think we can even use at in here. At color. Yeah, so we can just change this to color primary. That's super, super easy to do. But with something like a rounded rectangle resource, I feel like you're just going to use that everywhere. I mean, it's just such a key component in modern UI these days that having it be one color is a little difficult, just because you'd probably need a few of them to have them all be the same color. So that would definitely work, and let's run it just to feel happy about it looking good. But in the meantime, let's see if we can get that resource somehow. I don't really know. So really just looking for anything that returns, you know, a resource or what have you. And I didn't think we'd find it on the adapter, though it's weird that's where you set it. Though I guess then you use the adapter, so let's... This, I don't need to say this, we're already in the spinner. So drop down, resource, set pop-up background resource, and none of these are returning a resource, so it's, you know, it'd be difficult since set drop-down view resource is the only option we have here. You do have to use an actual layout item, and I'm not sure how you would color this programmatically, at least off the top of my head, because you need to get access to the drawable, which you don't really have here. And especially, it's weird, the adapter is kind of like the middleman. You would be setting the drop-down view resource. I would feel like that should be set on the spinner, not the adapter. But hey, that's what it is. So we've got the color changed in here, which means we don't actually need to change it wherever else we changed it. But there we go. Colors, easy to read. Yeah, that looks fine. And then we've got this being rounded, but no shadow like we've got on this button here. And I don't know that we need it. Might be interesting to have. The add any notes here, that's bright. That's not what that should look like. The hint text field, I think before it's a little muted, so I wonder if that's a default color, or what color it was. Let's just try setting it to gray and see what that looks like. So hint text color, color dot, because it needs to be clear to the user that that's not text they've already entered there, and you know, the words make it clear, but you should also say it with color. So another thing, the heck is that? Can I delete that? Yep. Okay, yeah, so that's just a weird thing on my desktop. Cool. Material IO, is that it? Alright, perfect. Cool. So clicking on here, we should get a different color hint text. Yep, that looks a lot better. It looks very inviting to type over it, I think. You know, I'd probably even change it to a different shade of gray if I was really polishing this, but I think that looks pretty good. Okay, so I've come over here and opened up the material design kind of colors page where they just do a lot with colors, and a really cool part of it is right here there's just a bunch of colors and they tell you how to pick them. So if you're going to pick your app colors, they tell you to get a primary that's like a 500, secondary that's a 200, and then pick a primary dark that's a 700 or 800. And then you scroll up here and it's just got it all labeled, so you can change your colors around pretty easily. So just as an example of what I'm talking about, let's change these colors to be like a, I don't know, like a purple and gold maybe. That seems kind of different. So then I think we want to find, actually let's see if these colors match up with some of these, right? Because they should, if Android, you know, it's the default colors for Android. Let's see if they follow their own guidelines. So we've got colors, and there we've got the color IDs, and they're kind of a dark blue and a pink. So let's see, the pink is FF4081. Yeah, so that's right on this 200 right here. They've picked the 200 for the pink, and they've got then a dark blue and a darker blue, which are probably indigo. After looking at the options here. So in indigo, we've got, come on, you gotta be one of these, right? 303F, no? Yep, there we go. 303F9F, that's our dark one, and our primary one is the 500. So yeah, we've picked the 500 for our primary color, then we picked the 800 for our primary dark color, and then we picked a 200 of a different color for our accent color. And that's pretty much how it works, or you know, how they recommend you do it, just kind of at the high level, really basic material color stuff. I mean, it's not like it gets a lot more complicated than that. You know, they've got some examples down here that are nice to look through if anybody wanted to learn more about what they recommend. It's all pretty normal, and you'd expect most of it. I think the coolest part is just that they give us this color resource and tell us, you know, pick a 500, an 800, and 200, call it a day. Makes it really easy for us to grab some colors. So if we were going to change this to purple, you know, I could grab this, or deep purple, like the band. Grab, color this the primary. Oops, I hit copy again, so we're going to come back over here and then paste, and we can grab the 800 for the dark. No, let's grab the 900. Let's get a nice deep purple. Very royal one. And then for the accent, let me say gold. I think that would look okay. Or a blue. Let's go with that. Ooh, that's a really bright one. And that's just straight. That's just yellow. FFFF00. So, okay. FFFF00. Just yellow. And then let's see what that looks like. I'm not saying that's going to look any better, just different and in a cool way that we can quickly kind of change themes by letting Google do all the work for us and discovering the colors. So now we've got purple and deep purple, though they're both from the deep purple category. And when we click on a new one, we've got that, and we've got that yellow, which looks awful. I'm not a fan. Yeah, I guess it's not that bad. But so you can see, you change the colors and it kind of works. It's not difficult, and so you can add theming to stuff and let people change their colors and kind of do whatever they want. Cool, so let's find a, I feel like that yellow just doesn't work for me. I just want to quickly look, see if I can find something that I think is better. But we'll probably end up leaving, or maybe an orange, no. They used green in their example on the page, but I'm not big of a fan of the green. Well, let's just go with teal and leave it at that for now, just because it doesn't matter that much, and it's fun to change colors. Yeah, keep that over there, that's fine. Did we run yet? Cool, and then... Ooh, yeah, that looks a little better, I think. Yeah, a couple more things we could do to this page right here is we could do it as a dialogue. That'd be an interesting refactor to do it so that this is just kind of a pop-up instead of... Actually, I think that might be something I can do in 20 minutes. Let's find out. So, a sneaky way to do that would be to just make the activity kind of transparent. So let's do transparent activity. So there is a formal kind of dialogue way to do it, and there's also fragments and a couple other ways that you could have this just so that you click here and it pops up and you're still in this same activity. And there's a, that's a nice way to do it, but let's see if we can't do it this other way, which is this. So here we've launched our new activity, our, what's it called, new feeling activity, and we can make this transparent. So we can get rid of this bar up here and make this background transparent so that it'll look like it's popping up over the other activity as a dialogue. It won't actually be a dialogue because that's a different thing in Android, but it'll look a lot like one and you won't be able to know the difference. So let's see what we can do. And actually, I think I have a theme for this in this project. Let's. Woo, there's a lot of drawables in there. So themes, res, values, styles. One of these. Come on. Ooh, pop up. Do you have a thing? Do you set a thing? Pop up background or something here? No, no, no. So I know I have it in another project. Let's see. And there are a lot of projects. Wow. What's that project called? Here. Is it not? Oh, it's on the other computer. Lame. So I guess I'll have to just Google it, which may take a little longer. Oh. Okay, cool. So we're looking for, and it's basically like these. We got to get a little style that we're going to set for this activity. So we're gonna. So here, kind of how we've got this style for this one with the app theme, we need to style this activity. So let's figure out how to do that. Okay, so we need to set a theme tag on our activity, and let's try window no title. Let's just try this guy's one right here. So we'll pull this style over. And we're going to name it transparent. Background transparent, window background transparent. Window is translucent, true, and animation style. I don't know why I'd need an animation style. But okay. And then let's set this one's theme and the manifest. So we're going to need to add a little room in here. And then since we're on more, well, I guess we can do that. So we're going to do theme as at style. It's not app theme, it's whatever I just called that, transparent. And let's see what that does. So new thing here, and we got an error. Cool. What did we do? Right there, illegal state exception. You need to use a theme.appcompat theme. So, okay, great. That means over in here, we didn't do a theme.appcompat theme, so let's just make this one's parent be theme.appcompat.light. And let's just do no action bar, because we don't need an action bar for this one. That's sort of, we're trying to hide that. Cool. So that worked out really well. So see how it kind of